Hello, let's see. Okay, we are live. Exciting, exciting. How is everybody? I'm just going to let this start to come online. Okay, perfect. Ah, excited to tune into September today. And I'm just going to give it a minute for anyone that wants to join live. I did this last month and I had so much fun doing it. And I kept going back and referencing my notes to see what I had put. And hey, Violet, how are you? It's so good to see you. How are you? And it was just fun to have as a reference to go back and to look and to see, okay, what was the energy? How do I best work with it? All that kind of stuff. So, hey, Kimberly, it's nice to see you. Um, the way that you can use this report going forward is so I put it as a soulcast, an energy report. And it's really about seeing things through the lens of your soul. It's not about the astrology, anything like that. This is truly just looking at it from soul perspective and being very intentional with your energy and how you want to use it. Because as we all know, times have been a little crazy, right? There's just so much going on. There's so much astrology. There's so many retrogrades. And if you are somebody that's into, hey, Abby, I owe you a message, as a matter of fact. I'm going to message you after this. Um, oh, Kimberly, you're so sweet. Um, so when you're working with this, it's as a touch point for the energy so you know how you can move forward. And I was saying that with astrology, there's just so much happening right now. As a matter of fact, we had a full moon yesterday. I'm curious to see how that full moon affected you. I have noticed this week with my clients, there's been a lot happening emotionally and tuning into, we came off of August, which was a very, very powerful month. And it was that whole theme of the month was relationships and how we are in relationship to other people. It kind of started off like where maybe we were going to be doing some like looking at some deeper like shadow stuff. And then it was like kind of like it was going to dipping and then going up high where we got to, so think about your month, think about your August, like how did your August go? And towards the end, it started kind of ticking up where we could kind of tune back into our dreams and coming back into contact with what we want to create for the future. So let's see what September is going to hold for us. Yeah, Abby, was that full moon crazy or what? You were wide awake till 3:30, Kimberly? Oh my God, that's wild. I actually have to say, I knocked out last night. Like I had one of the deepest sleeps I've had in ages. And as a matter of fact, I had this dream. And I'm going to share this dream with you. I had a dream that I had this. There's a condo I lived in before I got, before my husband and I got together and got married, and it was this old place of mine. And in my dream, and I feel like this dream is very prophetic, in my dream I still had like a bunch of furniture and I had like a bunch of like just like knickknacks. It was almost like as it was like a storage unit. But like the interesting part of the dream was like the landlord, I was like hiding from the landlord. I was like, oh my God, got to get this stuff out of here because the lease was up. And I had all these things still left. And I remember kind of like looking in this like one box and seeing like an old bathing, like just like weird stuff. Like I used to, oh my gosh, this is so crazy. But I used to wear like a Chanel. I would always wear Chanel lip glosses. Like that was my thing when I was in pharmaceutical sales. I get like anytime a new Chanel like lip gloss dropped, like I was buying like the new color. Okay. And it was so weird because there was like the Chanel lip glosses. It was almost like I was seeing like remnants of like, sorry, of my past. And then I had an old friend from my past, like pop in, and I haven't seen her in ages. She moved a long time ago, and she was there. And so it was like this message. And I feel like I asked Spirit this morning, I'm like, is that message, it's obviously for me, but it's also for everybody else. It's very prophetic in the sense that, because I was lucid in the dream, it's time that we let go of the past. Like, as clear as day, like all the density, all the heaviness, like it's not to say that like we can't reminisce and like look back, but like any of the shoulda, woulda, couldas of the past, like where, God, I'm regretting that I didn't behave in this way, or I didn't do these things, or you're still trying to like carry former versions of yourself into the present moment. That dream was so clear of like, let that stuff go. Like I remember looking at the Chanel lip gloss and going, oh my God, I remember I was so attached to these things, you know, and like they're great, but like, do I really like, it was almost like seeing like an old version of something that I loved and then realizing how much I've shifted. So I want you to start just tuning in. Like September's a 9 month. 9 is a month of completion. So in a lot of ways, I feel like we're going to be completing some big things and some like letting go of the past so that we can really embrace what's coming in October, November, and December, because they're showing me right now energetically that those 3 months are going to be like very big. Like there's so much energy and there's going to be so much happening in the collective that's like we have to like put our seatbelts on and be ready. And the more that you can release your own personal history, your own personal like stuff that you've been carrying along that no longer resonates with who you are, the easier it's going to be to navigate those few months. Just so you guys know, I'm going to be channeling this whole thing. So you may see me not making eye contact with the camera. And it's because that's when I channel, I do that. But let me just check the comments really quick. Hi, Cynthia. Yeah, it was oh my God, it was so beautiful. It was so yellow last night. Went out to dinner. I saw my in-laws last night. It was so great to see them. I haven't seen them in 6 months because they won't see us because of COVID. And they came and we ate dinner outside and it was really lovely. And we got to see the full moon. But back to what I was saying, there is something really important around letting go of the older identities. Like that's one of the big messages they're showing me right now. Like, so if you're clinging to a way you used to be, a way like life used to be, for instance, you know, like that's a big one that's playing out right now. I feel this big like breath coming through me of like, it's time to let it go. It's time to like fully address any last bits of like grieving or mourning over like how the collective was, and really stepping into like, oh my God, we are the co-creators of this new reality. Like we get to step into like our frequencies become this beautiful, like I just got like a rainbow, and like we're like creating like a whole new way of being, and like bringing that frequency as a collective. Like, so all of us light workers, all of us who are tuning into like our hearts and our higher selves, like we are the creators of this newer consciousness. But in that, we have to shift out the shadow. We have to shift out the negativity. We have to shift out the past, which means we have to embrace our own past and stop, you know, going back with remorse or regret or all those kinds of things. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is pull the card for September and channel and see what that overall energy is, and then I'll go week by week and just tell you what's coming up. So the first card for September. We got the Triumph card. So this card, you know, when it comes through, they're basically saying to me, they're showing me with connecting, and I was going to say to our willpower, our discipline, you know, having our sights set on something, that we can we can create a lot of shifts this month. This month, you're going to notice like this card, like he's really in his masculine, he's like going for it, he's doing, but there's a different message that Source is putting in my awareness right now. And this is the month of doing things through frequency. This is the month where we change within ourselves so that our external reality starts to show up differently. So this isn't so much like, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. Like, yes, you're going to be in action, but everything starts with how your internal landscape is. And it's frequency first, and it's God's will first. Okay, so this isn't so much of like, yes, have your dreams, but anytime you're dreaming like what you want to create this month, like the mantra around this is going to be Divine, this is what I want to bring into this reality. Show me how I can do this even better and even bigger than I'm already envisioning it. That is going to be the mantra, because it's not so much, we are moving out of 3D consciousness where we feel like we're in control. We're the one managing. We're the ones doing all these things. I've had so many sessions this week already where people are having to surrender bigger than they've ever surrendered before in their life so they can usher in grace, because the answers that we seek aren't so like readily available right now, which is, it's scary to us. We're like, well, am I, I want to do this, but like, what's the financial market going to be like? I want to change careers, but like, is it safe timing to change careers? Is it safe for me to launch my dreams? And if we start things from a shaky foundation where we're already in that energy of lack and scarcity, you can guarantee that the dreams that what you're building your dreams are on, I should say, it's going to be faulty foundation. So this is frequency first, God's will. You could say divine will. That's why I live by divine will. And where in your life in September are you going to have to surrender so something bigger can be birthed through you? Okay. So I would say with this card, the overall message is triumph. So setting your sights high of what it is that you want to create, of what it is that you want to show up in your reality, and then being the receptacle to receive it. Like they're saying, receptacle is like our body is literally this vessel to receive the divine channeling through our lives. And so that is really powerful. Like when I feel it in my body, sorry, I just had to like do that. But when I feel it in my body, it feels like there's so much electricity. The other thing they're showing me is that our light bodies are going to be operated on this month. This is something I do with my VIP clients. But you can do it too in your own way, where you literally allow yourself. It's part of that messaging I was receiving earlier through my dream state last night of you have to be willing to let go of the past, because your light body, all the old miasma, which is all the ancestral karma and stuff that you've been carrying, all your old belief systems, all that kind of stuff is literally being ushered away. And I did this, I think, in my first frequency activation, I believe, for my soul lab, where I remember seeing us in the higher dimensional states, like in between the 10th and 12th dimension, our light bodies being operated on and moving through, and when I say operated, I'm not saying really but like our light bodies through the high angelics being, taking out all the density and moving it. So if you have that intention to have your light body be able to hold the higher frequencies, which is what is going to allow you to hold the life that you desire. The only limitations to the life that we want are right here. Okay. So, and that's challenging for people sometimes. It's like, well, I want this. And I'm getting so clearly from the high angelics right now, the group that is channeling through me, that this is a month that you're going to set into motion through your frequency all the bigger things that you want to claim going forward, especially through the end of the year. And your light body has to be purified. That's what it is. Purified, your vessel. So if you've already been in a state of detoxing and clearing your physical vessel the last 2 months, which I've been in it, I know a lot of other people that have already just naturally like, oh, I'm going to kind of give this thing up, or I'm not going to use much sugar or whatever. Trust that process, because that's part of the light body going to the next level. Okay, so there's that card. So let me just write this down, because I'm going to take my own notes. Okay. And then, hello, Alexandra. It's so nice to have you in here, darling, and in Soul Lab too. I'm so excited you joined. Okay, so let's see what this first week is all about already. And, ooh, we got the power card. So another big, I was going to call it like big energy card. This is, oh my gosh, and I have been seeing this in my sessions. Holy shit balls. I hate to say it, but my sessions have not been light this week. And it's not a bad thing. It's just that what's happening is like I've already seen like jobs being taken away, not because it's a bad thing, but because the universe is making way for that bigger thing. So what I always say when as in my work that I do, since we just got the triumph card, which is the vision, what we're moving towards, what we want to have, what we're going to get in our lives, anything that is the resistance to the dream, like when you set the intention and you ask that powerful question, that I shared just a little bit ago, divine, show me how I can, bring this into my life even more so than I've already been doing. When you ask questions like that of the universe, the things that are in the way pop up, right? And sometimes we're like, no, I want it to be easy, but hey, there's always going to be speed bumps, right? There's always like speed bumps and challenges to what we're doing. This is the card that's showing me you get to stay in your power, right? But there's a part of this where you're taming the tiger. You're looking at the resistance. You're going, oh, that thing that is in the way of me having what I want. This week is the week to allow those patterns and those awarenesses to become very alive within you. And when I say alive, like where you're creating space through your meditations, through everything, so that you can see those like beliefs. They're telling you you're not enough. Like if you have a big vision and but I could never have that. I could never achieve that. This is the week to meet that resistance eye to eye. Okay, so when you tune into resistance, our natural tendency is to I just got the funniest vision. Is to run. And I'm just kidding. It's to get away from it. Like, no, I don't want to deal with this. No, this is too much for me. Oh my God, Spirit's being funny right now. They just showed me how I behaved yesterday about something. So what we'll find is when we get triggered, we'll go back into old patterns. Those old patterns are feedback. It's a feedback loop, right? So the resistance is, when you get triggered and you go back into like, let's say that old behavior, that old way of thinking, and like, oh, this is never going to change and it's always going to be like this, and all these things that our minds, our ego, the subconscious tells us so that we can't elevate to the higher heights of our life, okay? When you hear that voice, when you see that behavioral pattern, sit with it. Pause. Okay, this is coming up. How can I do this differently? If I continue to act in the same ways I always have in my past to this trigger, to this thing that's happening in my life right now, I will create the same goddamn results. It's so imperative this month, right? And even going forward, because we're like, I want you to think of yourselves as the architects of your divine destiny. Okay, you're architecting a new future for yourself and for the collective, for your children, for whoever you work with, whatever. Okay, so in that, don't judge yourself when you go back into something, but meet that resistance eye to eye and sit with it and pause and contemplate it. And so I'm just laughing at myself because yesterday I went into an old behavioral pattern with my husband because I was like triggered about something. And instead of like breathing and like talking through it, I was like silent and like cold and kind of being bitchy. And now that I'm looking at it, because Spirit's like, look at what you did. Not in a bad way, but they're just showing it to me to make it understandable so I can share it with you. And it was funny because I started to shift my energy a little bit. And then I opened up, and then my husband and I, later in the night, he's like, wow, you were in a really bad mood earlier. And I was like, yeah, I get back in these old thought patterns. And it's like I start to believe them again, that things are going to be like this instead of like that. And he was like, yeah, well, okay. And so this is the card where if we're going to step into our power, because this is what this card is about, your strength, your power, your abundance, whatever it is you want to call in, that you have to be willing to change. And so when resistance comes, after you pause and contemplate it, hug it out. Like if it's a fear, like bring that fear right next to you. Almost imagine that version of you is sitting on a bench right next to you. because that trigger is usually your inner child, or it's a part of you that like your needs aren't getting met, or it's just such a programmed version of you from your past. So you just like befriend that version of you and be like, what's up, sister? Like, what are you feeling right now? Or what's the fear? Let's move through this. Let's not stay in this state of like the same, same, same. So we can keep having more of the same, same, same. Okay. I think you guys feel me on this one. So this is the power card. That's this week. That's what we're going to be meeting, is the resistance. Okay. And Alexandra just said that's exactly what I do. Hey, Aubrey, how are you, beautiful? I know, I do it too. Jeez. And of course, you know, when I channel like this, it's so funny because I feel like my angelic guides are like, remember you yesterday? So, you know, like, look at you, sister. And I'm like, okay, thanks for the reminder. But that's how it makes it understandable for me when I channel. Okay, so now that we're moving from, okay, so we have power this week. Let's see what next week holds for us and like the lesson from soul that we get to continue to delve into. Ooh, okay, God, they are not messing around. So we got the solar plexus. So this week of the 7th, we are going to be tuning into all the things in our external reality and making sure that they're still in alignment because, you know, like I said, the speed bumps, the resistance will come up. You'll be focusing on moving through that, showing up differently in your life. And then they're asking that we tune into everything externally and making sure that it's all online for us. What I mean by that is think of your, you know, just tune in your solar plexus for a moment. And the solar plexus to me is, I'm ruled by the solar plexus in human design. And it's your emotional authority. Okay, so if you know anything about that, human design, it's a really fun thing. I'm not going to get into that right now. But so when we are in our confidence, in our power, because that's what the solar plexus is about, our self-esteem, our self-worth, I want you this week to set a challenge for yourself to every day be checking into your solar plexus and how you feel. Because the gut, you know, the second brain, you know, of the gut is always telling us through being an antenna to the quantum field what's happening in us. And what I want you to explore this week is where you're giving your power away to your external environment. But I also want you to explore your external environment in the sense of like, is my job what I want it to be? Are my relationships fulfilling me and allowing me to be my most authentic self? Am I giving myself the permission to show up fully in my power and my confidence? So this week is about releasing and relinquishing the relationships and the things that are holding us back from being the best version of ourselves. So it doesn't mean you have to like get rid of somebody. It doesn't even mean necessarily that you have to like get rid of that job if there's a job that you're like, but let's be real about this. Oh my gosh, they're like being like, don't say that. They're telling me right now, it is not time anymore to subscribe to things that no longer are resonant for you. They're saying it's time to make sure that job is in alignment. So if you're not doing something that feels meaningful and purposeful to you, the universe is going to find ways to drop things out of our reality. So I'm not saying that if you're dependent on something for money that they're just going to pull it away from you. But they're going to ask that you start figuring out what is more aligned and start moving towards that. So this week of the 7th, you're going to find that you'll see where your confidence is waiting or what brings you into your confidence. And of course, our confidence should be an internal thing, right? You'll see the things in your external reality that are pulling you away from your power or giving you power. And what I would say for this specific week of the solar plexus is ask the empowering question, divine, show me how I could be more powerful when aligned to my soul, even more so than what I am doing now. if you'll notice the way I'm asking these questions, they're very positive. We never want to ask like, "Oh, I'm not in my power. What do I need to do?" That's coming from lack. This is about frequency, and this is about coming from the highest version of you, and assuming that in some way, shape, or form you already are powerful. You just want to get to your next level. So this week it's going to be like, show me what that looks like. Sorry, I need to take a sip, and I already noticed the time. I'm already running over time, but that's okay. Um, so yeah, that week, and it's a 3 week, so it's going to also be very much like I said, external, but like in relationship to my partner, to my children, to my work. How can I be more powerful? To my purpose, to my purpose. That's really the big soul part of it, to my purpose. So build that solar plexus up that week. Start trusting your gut. Not all of us are ruled by the emotional authority, but for me, I've learned, I always used to think intuition came from here, just like strictly like higher chakras. And then, oh my God, the last 3 years, I've been focusing on my body as the vessel of receiving my information. And it's changed my life, because anytime my body like moves in a certain way or like does something, without me like being intentional, like of course sometimes, but like think of this, when you're in a conversation with somebody and all of a sudden the story's so good, like you start to lean in, you're just like, wait, what is that? And you do it. It's not like they changed the sound, right? You're doing it because you're engaged. You're engaged with life. You're engaged with what's going on. Notice your body that week. What is your physical vessel trying to show you through your intuition? There's also situations, right, where you're with somebody and you might pull away. But just noticing all that. Okay, so now moving on to the week of the 14th. I want to try and make these somewhat succinct so that people, when they go back and watch it, they're not like, oh my God, this is taking so long. Okay, I guess they're not messing around with us, because then the following week we get the crown chakra, the 14th. So we've been in our power, we're reviewing everything, we're getting more aligned with our solar plexus. And then that week of the 14th, we really align with divine will. That is the week that we are connecting to our crown more than ever, which means your divine support team, which means surrender. That's what they just showed me. This is the week, I think I said it earlier when I was saying overall, that there may be something in your life that becomes it comes very clear to you that you don't have the answers. You don't know how this is going to change. You may not know how it's going to shift. And it could be something really positive too. It doesn't have to be a negative, but this is the week that you really practice your ability to allow divine will and step into divine relaxation, which is one of the most challenging things to do, because divine relaxation is being in your feminine. And it's the ability to go back to what I was saying earlier, to be the receiver, to waiting for your intuition to come through and tell you the next move, to be on the lazy river of life. So that doesn't mean that you're going to act lazy and you're not going to do stuff. But what it means is that you're literally like, imagine a lazy river and you're on an inner tube and you're just like floating. You're going to get to where you're meant to go, right? But there's this feeling of like you're just going to go with the current. Like you can't, like, you're not necessarily going to speed it up. There may be a little bit of tension this week with time. Like there may be this feeling of like, I need to get there now. And this is taking longer than I thought, and all this kind of stuff. And that's where we have to really go, okay, frequency first. Like I'm not going to go into that like time conversation with myself, and I'm channeling this, I'm not saying with me, but like, because I have to trust a divine timing, right? So that's going to be the messaging for that week, is like, okay, I'm going to be in my feminine, I'm going to flow, and I'm going to move through this, and I'm going to allow, and I'm going to wait for inspiration to channel through me so that I take my next steps. Okay? So this might be a week where you might be like kind of sitting on it's almost like I get the vision of like sitting on your hands, where you're like, okay, I really want to move forward with this. I want to get nervous and bite my nails and like do those things and get distracted and get really busy because it makes me feel like I'm doing something. But not that week. That week, nope. Go down the lazy river, trust, go within, get your connection with God so strong in your divine support team that you start to become like unshakable. Okay. And to me, if there's one thing that I would teach, like if God said to me, there's only one, you're only allowed to teach one thing. And what would that be? And I would say to have an unshakable relationship with the divine. That's like my number one thing that I teach in all my stuff, right? Even though I do business coaching, soul coaching, all that stuff, that is it. So that week is the week that we're going to be really magnifying that, amplifying it, looking at it, being in relationship to God. Okay. Your faith may be tested that week. Okay, I'm just going to say it like that, and that's a good and bad thing, right? Because if you're strong with it, you're going to be like, okay. And I'm just going to say this last piece. I have a friend who, anytime something bad happens, I've shared this before, but every time something bad may happen, she always looks. She'll say to me, and she'll say it with the straightest face, and she'll say, "Oh my God, something amazing must be really happening, coming up, because this wouldn't have happened otherwise." And she believes that in every ounce of her being. So guess what always happens? I'm not making this up. Like this girl is real. She's not a unicorn. Oh my gosh, I just have to tell this story really quick. She has an amazing property that she Airbnbs up in LA, and she had a retreat. She has retreats there. She has all sorts of things. But over New Year's Eve, she had people. She put in the clause like you can't have parties, you can't do all this stuff, whatever. They had parties. It was New Year's Eve. She has a video camera like at the doorbell, and she could see all the people going in and out. She could see like one of the girls that rented the house wearing all her clothes. Isn't that funny? She's watching all this and she's calling Airbnb and be like, "Hey, they're like having a party at my place." And Airbnb kept waiting to fix the situation. They didn't get a hold of the people until like 3 or 4 in the morning, right? And the crazy part is that because of them not being able to get there, by the time they got to a hold of the people, the party was already done, okay? But check this out. This is the crazy part. She said to her husband, I know this negative thing in my life is going to lead to something, in their lives, is going to lead to something really amazing. She got reimbursed. And then because the house had, a party and, there were damages and all that, she wound up making a $150,000 paycheck for that weekend of her house being used through Airbnb and everything that happened. Wild story, right? But most people in that situation would be like knocking on the door and being like, "Hey, you're in my house and what are you doing?" And then calling Airbnb and being in such a bad mood that it would ruin their whole New Year's Eve. Freaking out over their possessions, their attachments, right? And yeah, hey, Melissa, yes, I'm waiting for it. So because of that, because she trusted, because she was in this, and because her frequency was like open and expanded, she got a freaking huge payday for so that's a crazy story, right? But it just demonstrates, the power of what I'm saying is going to be happening the week of the 14th. Okay, so now let's look at the week of the 21st. I love that girl and her stories. When she tells me all that stuff, I'm always like, wow. Okay, so this week we got the financial and material changes card. Okay. So this week is this is a 5. This means that things are going to be shifting, things are going to be changing. There might be something happening in the collective. My team is telling me there's going to be some, like a little bit of fear. There's like a little bit of fear. Like it's already on the rise just because of everything that's happening in the collective. But this week you may be reevaluating your material world. This isn't a negative per se. It's just that if something is out of alignment, you might feel a little stressed and tense about it. Okay, I'm just going to give you a heads up. So this is the week to make sure, because let's be real. If you're going to bring in your dream life and dream big this week and have the triumph that you need. You need to see where there's the shaky foundation. And this is very material this week. This is, you go from the God week to like the week of like, okay, where in my financial portfolio are things off? Where am I not like saving for the future? Where am I not being responsible? That's what they just channeled through me. It's all about responsibility. Where am I not being responsible in my life? And how can I align this so that things can be strong and sturdy for the growth that I want to bring into my life? Okay, that's a very simple message for that week. It's all about responsibility. And I like to actually change the word responsibility to response able. Like, how able are you to respond to life's challenges? How quickly can you be solution oriented versus going into victim mentality? So this is the week, like you're already coming off the faith week. So this is the week to stay in your ownership, accountability, and responsibility for your life so that you can build up, okay? Build up metaphorically. Alexandra, did you say WTF to like the New Year's Eve party and the money? Isn't that crazy? I love it. Okay, so last week, 928. Oh, beautiful. Okay, so this is the Hope card. So, this last week of September, and I believe that we're going to be going into like a retrograde pretty soon after that, a Mercury retrograde, and I want to say it's going to be in Venus. This card is the North Star card in the traditional tarot. It's very much a card of healing, and it's a card of, it's an energy, I should say, of finishing up what we've been working on, what we will be working on. I'm already acting like September's over, but it's the energy of finishing up what we started. Like it literally goes from being in your power to like, and noticing where you have all your resistance and everything, and continuing to work through your solar plexus to stay in your power and your confidence, to your crown, to aligning with divine will, then making the physical reality changes, to the last but not least, the integration piece, for that week. If you think of it as September as its own little, kind of container. And that last week is like integrating the lessons. It's seeing, the places that healing is still needed in your life so that you can continue to move forward in the most aligned and highest way. To me, healing is, we're always peeling back the layers of the onion. And it's not to say we always have to be working on ourselves, but this week there might be miraculous healing involved, which means that there might be something that you've been stuck on or something that you were working on all month long. And this will be the week that it like loosens up or lightens up or shifts or change. The miracle comes, the thing happens that you're like, oh, thank goodness. Like, goodness gracious, like this all came together, because this is about that. They're showing me like the removal of something really big in your field, like some sort of density. And so that's a really big piece. And then the other thing I want to say to this is that remember how I said, we're looking at our relationship to our purpose and how responsible we are in our lives? Well, this card is also asking you, what is it that you need to do to step into your soul's mission and purpose? This is a deeper call to the light workers. And I'm not even going to call them light workers anymore. I'm going to call you a light warrior. Because to be aligned in your highest timeline and do the work that we're meant to do on this planet means that you have to be more sure of yourself now than ever. You have to be in your confidence. And that's why Spirit is building you up this whole month. That's why they want you to be understanding your self-worth and being more aligned with divine will instead of human will. That's why you may have to shake out some of the 3D stuff in the material world so that you can step more into your mission of who you're supposed to be in this lifetime. Kind of big, right? But it doesn't mean that week all of a sudden you're gonna, like, let's say you've been thinking about doing a business and all of a sudden you're like, I'm doing it, I'm starting it, it's all gonna work out that week. But some of you may be a big leaper like that, And some of you may just step closer towards it. You know, your body may move you closer, one step, two steps closer to what it is to be in your soul mission. And your soul mission doesn't have to be your job. It is just like, who do you want to be? What statement, what legacy, what messaging do you want to get across to the people around you through your frequency and transmission? Okay, so the healing available, the alignment with your bigger purpose and your North Star is going to be really powerful the last week of September going into October. Okay, so I hoped that helped you guys. Well, we don't know yet, right? We're just stepping into the energy. But I think the biggest thing with this is there's going to be a lot of different ways our soul gets to really tune into the higher frequencies. And it feels like, since last month was more about relationships, it still feels like there's a little bit of a tonality with that. But this one feels more like, how are you in relation to yourself and the divine? And fortifying that so that October, November, especially, when there might be some stuff going on in the collective, you're like, whew, sturdy, centered in the divine, in yourself. Okay. Beautiful women. I think, oh, I have a call I'm supposed to be on in 1 minute, so I'm going to pop off here. That was super fun. As the month goes on, let me know if you've watched this and then you circle back. Let me know. Hopefully, I think I'm going to have my virtual assistant take notes on this and send it out. But let me know how everything shows up for you and how this is resonating for you. If it feels, you know, because this is future casting, but still, like, just, you know, if this is helpful to you, I'd love to hear if this is helpful, if this provides like a good foundation for you, because I'm always open and willing to kind of shift this and change this, because this is a new offering of mine. So anyways, have a beautiful week, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Thanks for joining me, ladies. I always appreciate you being on live with me. It really gives me a lot of energy. I love vibing with you guys. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.